So a quick update on the beer fermentation process. It looks very much like it's finished doing its fermenting job. It's done exactly what it needed to do, and funnily enough, happened really much quicker than I expected. I'd normally leave it going for a couple of weeks and expecting the fermentation process to take a couple of weeks. From looking at our new fantastic tilt sensor, it looks like it actually does it in a couple of days, and then not a great deal happens over the next couple of weeks. I don't really fancy trying to keg the beer after that short term, because I've heard of things exploding, and there's a saying that you're not a proper home brewer until you've mopped the ceiling, which I don't really want to do, and wouldn't be very popular. So a bit of an update in what's happened over the last couple of weeks. I did a quick comparison on the temperature that the tilt sensor was giving me with a multimeter that can measure temperature, and tried to calibrate it with some boiling water and some ice water, with just a lot of ice that I got straight out of the freezer, and found that my meter was about half a degree out. I know it's obviously not perfectly pure water, but I'm not looking at a fraction of a degree accuracy. I just want to know roughly where it is, and found that my tilt sensor was about 6 degrees out, and it was showing low. So using Node Red and some of the server side stuff, I just added 6 degrees onto the calculation as it's coming in. So you can see from the graph just here that that's the point where I added in 6 degrees. So that line should continue here. That's actually should be about here somewhere. So it looks like it stayed reasonably steady in temperature terms from its peak at 25 when it was fermenting the fastest. We had some warm days around when was that, the 15th, somewhere around there. It was a pretty hot day. We had a couple of cold days over the last few days, then it's warmer again today. But it stayed within the 20 to 25 degree range, which I'm quite happy with. But it's this process that I'm really quite pleased with, because that curve looks great. That looks like it's nicely, gradually fermented. It's not stalled or got stuck anywhere. I'm really pleased with that. And the battery is holding up really well. You know, it'll still work down to about 2 point something volts. That's not really volts, that's just a number at the moment. I've not worked out. I've not scaled that in any way. That's just a number to show it decaying at the moment. So now that the fermentation's pretty much done, it's time to put some dry hops in. Beer's looking nice and clear. It's just a case of dumping them in. One thing I did wonder with the tilt sensor is that because this is just another little of the same pots that it's in at the moment, it's now floating at about that sort of angle, and it's quite steep. So I wonder how much, if the fall off on that graph is because a change in gravity at that point is only a tiny little movement, but a change in gravity from this point makes it change quite a lot. So I wonder if it's worth trying to reset the weights in the sensor for the next run, so that the beginning of it is more like that, just on the edge of moving, so that the full fermentation process is more like that, rather than starting about there somewhere and going to there. Don't know, all of this is trial and error. We will see. I think we need to brew more beer. For this batch, I'm going to put it in a keg. I'd normally put it in a bottle. I've never put it in a keg before, but my lovely mother brought me a brand new keg to put it all in. So I'm going to put it in that. I'm going to go to a mate's house, play some old arcade games, and drink it all. So I've taken a gravity reading with a refractometer as well, just so that we're not relying on the jankily thrown together tilt sensor, because we need to work out the original gravity and final gravity, so that I can work out how strong the beer is. We'll do that right at the end. So it's looking like it's at about 1.017 at the moment. I'd have to look up what the original gravity was, but we can work out roughly where it is. But I don't think it's changing much at the moment. Looks pretty good, and it tastes pretty nice as well. So from now, the hops from the dry hopping will obviously make quite a big difference to the flavour. It'll give it that lovely sort of almost floral, slightly citrusy flavour that's really quite nice. But I'm quite interested to see what happens with the fermentation when you put the hops in, because I've heard various people say that it actually kicks off a slightly different fermentation process. Maybe it uses different sugars. Maybe there's some slight yeasts in the hops that that might use a different kind of sugars. I don't really understand how it works, but it could be interesting. So the next stage will be kegging the beer, and then I'll have to leave it for a couple of weeks to carbonate and settle down, all that kind of stuff. And then we're drinking the beer with some good friends, playing some computer games, being an absolute geek.